What is up? Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast. Do you ever feel like there's just not enough time in the day, or you have all these great ideas, all these things you want to do, and you just can't seem to do them, or you can't seem to find time, and then before you know it, that time's gone, and you should have started a long time ago? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about, is when you have too much on your plate. I'm Danny here, my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Yo, Danny.
Do you ever feel this way? Like there's just way too many things you have to do, and you can't possibly get it all done?
I always feel like I have too much on my plate because I have a big appetite and I just fill it up.
Yeah.
But in a more metaphorical sense, yeah, I struggle so hard with this because it's like trying to strike the golden mean between having too much and not enough. Because
Yeah.
not enough, I get depressed, I get listless, I get irritable, all these things. Too much, I can't do it all, and then I start cursing it because I don't have any time for myself. And so it's trying to find that golden mean.
Yeah, that middle area is hard because it's like you said, I like being busy. And so having enough stuff to do is great. But I also find like when I am busy, I get more ideas for more stuff that I want to do or should do, or that might be good ideas or good. And it's like, and I think like part of it comes from having a lot of interest. I think that is helpful. Like, cause like, there's a lot of things you might want to do. And it's not all like, I guess it's not all like stuff that's like for money, but like stuff for fun too. Like this just gets piled up and it's like, yeah, trying to find that balance. And it's really, really
Mm,
hard. And what to
yeah.
pick is like you got to pick things, right? And once you pick something, if you're going to invest time in it, it's going to take a fair amount of time to be good at it.
Hmm. And you know what got me recently about this is so like I am getting close to having a full schedule. And when especially there's 2 days a week that are already like packed full. I have 0 minutes left in the day.
Okay.
And I start to get this mentality that it's a chore that I have to do this stuff. And I completely miss out because I chose to do all of this stuff. This is
Yeah.
all stuff that I was like, before I was like, when I get to do that, that's going to be awesome. When I get to do that, that's going to be awesome. When I'm doing that, then I'll be happy. But like now, it's all just chores. And I'm just doing this and doing that and doing that and doing that. And I get caught in that thinking that, oh, I just got to get through today instead of being like, what a gift that I had these
Yeah.
ideas and now it's becoming a reality.
That's the bitch of it too, though, because and I know how you schedule, so I know you probably definitely have no time those 2 days. But no, it is funny though, because that's the other thing that sucks is like it seems like, you work so hard to get to these places where you can do these things that you really want to do, and then it becomes like a chore, it becomes work. And it's like preventing that is also really important because otherwise that totally ruins it. Like I can tell you, I mean, and it's so many times where like you think that way and you just get disengaged. It becomes miserable. It's really hard to get started or get it done. Like it's very difficult. Yeah.
And then I end up quitting stuff because I'm like overloaded with all these chores. And then I go off to the other end of having nothing to do. I'm being like, oh, I'm so bored. What am I? If only I could do something, then I'll be happy. And it's just like, you idiot. Like, you're never going to be
Yeah.
happy just because of your mental state. Yeah.
I know sometimes I just feel like I'm like crazy, but I know it's like I think most people are like that. That like you just you want things to be full, and you want to. It's so hard to keep that. You know what it is too. It's so hard to keep that level of enjoyment of like when things are new, and it's just very difficult to like I don't know maintain that without getting like caught up. Because once you start doing things also for like work, for income, they become very daily and all. And like obviously like I don't know. Anybody who's had a job for more than like a couple of years knows that any job you have, no matter how much you like it, there's going to be stuff that you don't like. I mean, it's just part of the deal, right? There's always going to be little things like maybe aggravate you or not as fun as the other stuff. And it's like trying to find that balance and keeping the other stuff like at least present enough that you still enjoy it is difficult.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how do
And
you do anything to try to rectify it? Try and solve
yeah.
this problem?
Yeah. So I, as I've gotten older, I pause before saying yes. Like
That's
I
a good
used
idea.
to, when things would come up before, I would say yes almost immediately, and I had a really hard time. I still do have a hard time saying no. I'll
I
be
do
honest.
too.
Like, remember when we
Yes.
had an idea for another podcast, and I said
Yeah.
yes, even though I didn't really, I knew I didn't have the time, and then it caused all this emotional turmoil, and like literally my world was falling apart. and we just had to talk about that and be like, it's okay, we don't need to do it. But
That's all right. I didn't
it's
have
like,
time either, so it worked.
yeah, it's crazy. And so like actually pausing and trying to figure out like, because everything that we do, like there's this saying that all of man's what is it? All man's suffering comes from his inability to sit still and do nothing.
Yeah.
And so I start to ask myself, like, why do I want to do this? And because oftentimes, like, I'll have an idea and then I'll want to do something because I think it'll get me somewhere else. It'll get me to this ultimate, like, pleasure, happiness, whatever outcome is. And just kind of questioning that, being like, why do I actually want to do this? Is this something like I try and imagine myself doing this thing, and I'm like, is doing this thing the thing that I want to do, or is this just a means to an end? Is this really just something that I think will give me happiness? And is there another route that I can go to get that happiness? Do I really need to go through this thing to get it?
Oh, I like that. So like, is it really like, is this activity really something that is worthwhile in itself that I want to do because I'm interested in doing it? Or am I really just looking to make money? Or am I really, do I
Like,
think it's gonna like, yeah,
I can give an example if it'll help illustrate it for people. Like painting little miniatures. That's an activity that when I'm actually doing it, thoroughly enjoy the activity. So that's something that like, can I make time for that? Absolutely 100%. But then like we were just talking before this episode about how I had an idea about like kind of like redoing another YouTube channel that I had going, kind of starting it up again. And it's like, why do I want to do that? Well, because if I do that, then I'll get a job easier. And then if I get a job easier, then I'll make more money. And then if I make more money, then I'll be happier. And it's
yeah,
just like, okay, is it really worth it? Do I like, because I
yeah.
can look and I can be like, actually making those videos, that's going to be stressful. That's going to be a lot of work. It may be worth it and I may still do it. But I can see that like actually the making the videos, that thing is maybe not something that I really want to do.
But that's a good point though too, because I think it's really getting kind of to the core of like why do I want to do this, right? What's the point of it? And is it valuable enough to waste the time? And also really, I guess, getting clear about how much time it's actually going to take. Because I think we all lie to ourselves. We're like, you think of something, like especially if it's something you already kind of do and it's like doing another thing related to that, you think, it'll be super easy but it's really not, and it's going to take at least how much time it's going to take. So be honest with how much time it's going to take and can you really get it done? And is the payoff worthwhile? If it is for something else, is it worthwhile for you to do it? I mean, is it really going to help? Does it really matter? Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's
So, what
important.
about you, Danny? What do you do when your plate's too full? And conversely, when it's too empty?
Hmm. I think I try, well, I mean, I guess when it's, I try to write down ideas all the time. So I try to have like stuff that I can look at if it is empty that I can pursue. But I find that, no matter what, once you get started and once you get going in the right direction, I think it inevitably gets too full too quick. And it's trying to kind of balance things and saying no sometimes is okay. Like, because I have the same problem as you, like, where I think I say yes very readily and then regret it later because it's something like maybe I didn't think through all the way or something. Um, so realize you can also say no sometimes even after the fact, like, or that you don't have to take on more if you don't want to. That's helpful. But what I've been trying to do recently that seems to have been helping is kind of reminding myself that like I'm really grateful that I'm here and I have these opportunities. And like that's been really helpful because, even when like, especially when it feels like, you're just doing work, when like the things that you wanted to do felt like work, it's like, but I wanted this so bad. So like reminding yourself that so that it still feels, you should still be grateful that you're able to do it now and that you are where you are. That's been super
Mm.
helpful.
Yeah. And so, like, remember that book that we read from Martha Beck, Finding Your North Star?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So I started reading that one again, and it's like the one of the things that she talks about at the beginning is like your essential self versus your social self. So your social
Yeah.
self is what's trying to conform with society. Your
Yeah.
essential self is like who you truly who you truly are, and basically like who you were as a child, the things that are uniquely you. And as I was reading that, I was like, man, because like my social self wants to succeed in business, wants to make a lot of money, wants like these wants to be financially secure, so I don't have to worry about these things. But like all the things that I do in that realm, maybe some of them are my essential self, but a lot of it's not. Like I was trying to think like how unique could I actually be? Because you know how like sometimes you'll see these people who are just dressed like ridiculous and they're just
Yes.
freaking loving themselves. Like they're just I mean they're dressed crazy and they just love the fact that they're dressed like that. And I was like, could I ever be that type of person where it doesn't matter if I'm a business success, it doesn't matter if, I've done this whole life thing perfectly, but if I was just happy because I was dressed the way I want, could I do that? And that was like a real question for me.
Well, no, it's a good question though, right? Because that's the crazy thing. I think we get caught up in this like, and I know like I'll give you a good example. Like when I was young, like younger, and I think it's definitely gotten easier with age. But when I was younger, I think a lot of people when they're younger, they want like they imagine like, a big house, a very well-paying job and all this stuff because like that's what everybody keeps telling you all the time. Something very secure or whatever, maybe something that makes a lot of money, whatever. And you imagine this is like your future. And I think for some people, maybe that is what they want. But I know as I got older, I realized like that wasn't what I really wanted. Like, and getting clear about that is very hard sometimes, to separate out like what society tells you or what the whole world seems to be doing and what you actually want. Because like you look on like, I mean, I know social media too. You look at these curated lives, and a lot of them are kind of similar. It's what people think people want to see as like an example of a good life, or an example of somebody living the dream or whatever. And it's like, do you really want that? Is that really what you want?
And it is so funny because I was walking the other day and I was going to the gym and there was this guy who was dressed like really nice, must have spent a lot of money on his clothes, and he was just like strutting his stuff, taking selfie videos for whatever. And he almost walked into the freaking door. He was like so close to walking into the
Oh,
door
that would have been
because he was
awesome.
so busy making himself look so good for like social media that he wasn't paying attention to the world. And
Uh,
I was just like, man, that is like that's the epitome of what this whole social media craze is. And so people so concerned about how they appear that they're losing grasp with reality.
yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny too?
And then other people buying into that illusion that that's how
Yeah.
their life actually is.
Well, it's like a self-feeding thing, right? Like, and it just makes it worse. It's funny too, though, because I think like you were saying about Martha Beck's book, like one of the things I liked that she said was like if you paying attention more to yourself and realizing like how you feel, and that being like an indicator of maybe what you should be doing. Because like one thing I really like, she said like, people would come in that like hate their jobs and but they're like, oh, it's a really good job, make a lot of money, but they're like, they feel tired all the time. They can't figure out why. And she's like, maybe it's because you shouldn't be doing that. Like your body's trying to tell you not to go. So it goes into like default, like depressed, tired, like can't get yourself out of bed mode. And it's like, but you think you want it because society's told you you want it. And getting that separate is so hard. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and another thing is like just living one day at a time. So, like, this is another trap.
Yeah,
This is another
very.
trap for me. And I don't know if it's like some PTSD from being $250,000 a student in student loan debt that like just effed me up completely in terms of my relationship with money. But like, I have enough for today, you know?
Yeah,
But like, I'm so concerned on doing everything I can and not resting a moment until I'm set for life. And it's just like,
yeah.
this is kind of, irrational.
No, it's irrational for a lot of reasons. One, you don't know,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, who
how
knows
long,
how long I'm going to be alive? Yeah.
or how much
Yeah.
things are going to cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean there is something to be said. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think there is something to be said for having enough that you have some security, like that you're not going to like tomorrow you're not at zero again or something like that. Like there is something to be said for that, and there's some security in it. But yeah, you can plan until the end of time. It doesn't mean that those plans will work out. It doesn't mean that that future will come to be, and you're just forcing yourself to constantly live for some time in the future that doesn't exist now. And it's like you're never enjoying now because you're constantly worried about putting things away for later. And I think it is. That's another tough one. It's like people who wait to do I knew people in school who were like, I'm gonna do all these things once I retire, and it's like you're gonna wait till you retire to do all those things that you want to do. That seems
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, that's actually a good point, is kind of like bucket lists and goals and those type of things. Because I, at least from it seems like a lot of people put them off. Like
Yeah,
I've been kind of the mentality like if I'm gonna do something, I might as well do it now because who knows how long I'm gonna live. And Yeah, but what's your take on that?
I mean, I don't know. I think you should write down things that you want to do. I always write down good ideas, whether they're things I want to do, goals, or like maybe other, like, hobbies, whatever. I think you should write them down. I think that's always good. It makes your plate seem full sometimes because you have all these options, but then you can kind of really decide what matters now and do it. Because I don't, I'm all for not waiting either. I think that's not a good idea. Because you don't
Hmm.
know, we can't know the future, right? And like an easy example, like, is if you want to travel a lot and you're going to wait till after you retire and have money, you can't know if you're going to be in a good position to travel or like if you're going to feel good, right? To actually bother. But
Yeah. Okay, funny story. This is why I'm laughing. So my friend today, I was talking to him, and he was saying he was like, he's like, my girlfriend's so bad at predicting the future, and I'm like, she can't predict the future. What's wrong with her? I was just, but it was just like, I was like, how do you even say that? Like, who can predict the future?
what future?
I don't know what he was talking about. I think he meant that she was like not great at planning for stuff in the future, but just the way that he
Uh,
said it, just the way he
predicting.
said it, he's like, she's so bad at predicting the future. I was
She
like,
never gets it
how
right.
could how could she? What's wrong with her?
But that's it, right? It's like you're trying to predict something that you can't predict now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for not waiting because I think that's a bad idea. I think if it's something you really want to do now, you'll get way more out of it doing it now than you will waiting till you can. And you know what it is too? I think a lot of people think they should wait till they can do it right, whatever that means. But then you're
Mm,
just putting off something that you really want in your life. Like if it's
mm,
a good rule of thumb, I think, is if it keeps coming up and keeps bothering you, you should just do it.
mm.
Like
That is
don't
a good
keep
one.
waiting.
That
Yeah.
is a good one. Another idea that I had is, so I have like a to get done list, which is like my daily to-do list. But also on there I have like way down on the bottom a backlog. And this is all things that like this is like my, I guess it would kind of be my bucket list. It's like stuff that I want to do but not right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, but I just keep adding to that because it's good to have there when I'm feeling low on inspiration or when I don't have a lot of stuff to, because those are the times when it's like hardest to think of anything to do. When you've
Oh
got
yeah.
nothing to do, when you're not inspired, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do anything. But and it's like then I can go look at that backlog that I thought of when my life was too full, and I could be like, you know what? I'll just try this. Why don't I just try this? Okay, I'll just do this.
That's why you got to write stuff down though, too, because I find the same thing. It's like when you're doing stuff and when you're being creative, that's when you have a million ideas. As soon as
Mm.
you're not, though, as soon as you stop or you don't feel good, it's like that's when it all stops. And so if you just write it down, you have that to go back to at least.
So
You have that like
how do you know when it's too much?
it is a
I'm
tough
asking
one,
because
isn't
I
it?
have no idea.
I know it's hard.
This is a
I know.
serious question. Help me, Danny. Help me.
I know. I mean, I t- I've been trying really hard recently, and I think it's working. I don't know. Like I've been trying really hard. Like I know I don't want to work from the second I'm awake to the second I go to sleep. One, I don't think it's healthy. And two, I don't want to do that because I have other things I want to do, So it's like so if I have zero time in my day for anything else, then I know it's too much. Or if I know I can't get it done today, that's too much. Like, it has to be things happen, of course. Like there's gonna be stuff that like, problems you can't solve today, whatever, that's fine. But like, I don't want to fill my schedule up that much. That's a good indicator. Also, like I've been really trying hard to keep in mind like the things that are also valuable to me outside of like work endeavors or goals. It's like relationships, stuff like that, that I know I need time for. So if I don't have time for that, it's too much. And that's a difficult one too, because it's like finding that balance is really hard. We all know like if you want something, you gotta put the effort in. And if you put the effort in, you'll get it. And then the question is how much effort and how fast. But that's been my kind of
Mm,
my gauge. It's been helpful. So like if I don't have time to do those things that are really important to me, I've got too much.
that's a good
And
one. I like that. I like that. One thing, so like I get caught in the trap of if it's not working right now, you're just not trying hard enough. Like
yeah.
this whole grind. I am such a sucker for that, like ridiculous sucker for it. And I do get caught in that. I was reading The World According to Mr. Rogers, and he had something in there because he's like big on growth. He thinks that growth is very important. But he also mentioned how he recognizes that like there are points in growth where you have to stop. Like
Yeah.
that's just it's never just complete. Like I think my misperception with this whole success grind mentality is it's always got to be like you've always got to grind, and like if it's not working, you're just not working hard. And from what I got from reading that was just like, you're going to have this growth, but eventually stuff's not going to work. And it's not like the plant stops growing a little bit because it's not grinding hard enough. It's just like, no, it just takes some time. Like that's it. You just take some time and then eventually it'll grow again.
Well, that's a good one. No, because I think a lot of people think that they think like if things are going well, they should go like like straight up. And if it's not, they're just not working hard enough. They're not doing enough. And it's like you're just gonna keep adding so much stuff to your plate doing it that way. And it's like if that's all you want to do, that's fine. Like, but are you enjoying life? Are you getting any other value out of life? So that's a really good point. Like, or also asking yourself like, when's enough, or what's enough for me now, or what's a good, realistic, I guess, metric for success. What's that look like now? And that
Hmm.
could be a lot of different things, right? It could be like, depending on where you're at, it could be just like starting to learn something new. It could be, whatever, I don't know, changing careers. It
Isn't
could
it
be so many
crazy? Isn't it
things.
crazy? There's literally no cap on what is enough. There is a bottom. So like
Yeah.
enough is just, the bottom is like I woke up today. There we go.
Yeah.
Not dead.
Yeah.
There we go. If that's enough, if that's enough, you freaking win every day. And then the day you don't win, you don't even care because you're not there anymore. So, like, that's cool. But the other side of it, it can literally be anything. And I get caught in that trap where I just think like, oh, I have to do this and I have to get that done and I have to do this all perfectly and everybody else has to think of the great and like all this stuff is just like, okay, let's bring our expectations down a little bit. How about I just do the best I can today? I get done stuff that I need to do, and maybe if I'm lucky, I can read for a little bit before going to sleep.
It's a good way to look at it, right? And like if it
Mhm.
doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It,
Yeah.
it's tough too because I think it is fun to do things and it is fun to start projects. It's fun to I think it's really fun to create things too and stuff, but it gets hard because it's all time consuming. It's like finding that time is very difficult. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think people have a lot of misconceptions too because they look at like I know a lot of people, just people I've talked to too, look at like people who say did get lucky on social media or something and have a successful like thing, channel, whatever the hell they're doing. And like they think it's easy. There's like a misconception that it must not be a lot of work because they only see like maybe, a 4 minute video or, a couple pictures on Instagram or something here, at these times or whatever. They don't see like the whole, you know, effort involved in producing something. And it's like,
Not to mention the other 99% that didn't make it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You
And all
know?
the other stuff. It's like, and I think people forget that too. It's easy for us also, to look at like, I know it's easy to look at people that are successful in other fields and be like, oh, that looks great because they have a lot of money or they have this or that. And you don't really know though what else is involved in that. And you also don't know what the work looks like, right? So it's like, I don't even know if I would actually like that.
Hmm.
So it's difficult. I think that's the hard thing is finding things that really are enjoyable and fun for you and valuable that give you the life that you want.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. As for me, I think my plate is about full. And here's the thing, is like I know right now my plate is full. I have Tuesday afternoons, a couple hours, and I have Saturday and Sunday, uh, like afternoons. And that's like it during the week. And yet I'm still trying to just fill that stuff up. It's crazy. Instead of just enjoying the free time, I'm just trying to fill it up. I'm
Well,
like,
then
if it's not full, yeah.
fill it up with stuff that's fun to do for you. That's another good way to do it. Is schedule
Hmm.
that time out for yourself for other stuff. That way, like that's fun, hobbies and stuff. Because that way, then it is filled, but it's like things you actually that are going to give you value in different ways.
It's a good
Because I think
idea.
that's the mistake we make too. I think we think we think of value in a very narrow sense. It's like monetary rather than like all the other possible values we can get. out of things or all the other things that are valuable and meaningful for us. So I think that's our other problem.
Yeah, hobbies are cool.
It's good to have interests,
Hmm.
friends, things like that, talk to people,
Yeah, right.
go out in the world.
Pretty rare nowadays. Pretty rare.
It is. But yeah, it's a
Yep.
tough one.
All right. So I
Eh,
think that's it.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. So when your plate's too full, hopefully I gave you, I don't know, a suggestion. But yeah, it's difficult.
Hmm.
Oh, if you like the show, check us out midweek for another quick fix. Um, Watch us on YouTube, wherever you get listen, wherever you get your podcast. Please like, share, subscribe. And until later, Randy.
Later, Danny.